If you could be a part of any TV family, which would you choose?
Ooh, like every early 2000s cartoon is running through my head.
I know, right? And then you go through them and be like, wait, actually,
Yeah, they
terrible
were all
family,
nightmares.
bad family, scary family.
None of them were good.
If I saw this person in real life, I'd scream.
Yeah, I mean, the first one that popped into my head was Wild Thornberrys, because like their life was chaotic, but they were like a very caring family.
Sure, yeah. Yeah, but without Donnie, he scares me.
Yeah, I'm in support. But it would be cool if Tim Curry were my dad,
Not Tim Curry, redheaded Tim Curry, even better.
Mustachioed Tim Curry.
Welcome to Butter No Parsnips. Every week on Butter No Parsnips, your hosts Kyle Imperator and Emily Moyers take you on an adventure through the weird, wacky, wonderful, and sometimes even wicked world of one wayside word. Strange characters, delightful bits, and general joyousness abound. Join them as they test each other's etymological expertise.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to Butter No Parsnips. I'm Emily Moyers.
And I'm Kyle Imperator. And boy howdy, Emily, words, we got them.
Who needs them?
They're coming fast at you today.
Do you got one?
I got one, Em. Do you want one?
Can I have one? Do you have some to spare? Do you have enough for the whole class?
Oh, no, I only brought one.
Well, then you'll have to have it out in the hall.
All right, Emily, your word today is Privign. 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 GN. Privign.
Oh, that feels like a real stab in the back, Kyle. Wow. Wowie wow.
Mm-hmm.
Wowie wow. Okay. So like initial thoughts, the I'm thinking like privacy, privy, privacious, which I don't think is a word. I think I just made it up.
You did, but love it. After this episode, you can let me know what privacious means.
Is this an adjective?
I don't actually know how it's said. We'll talk about that later, but my best guess is Privign, and it is not an adjective, Emily. It's a noun.
Okay. Is it franche? With that G in there?
It is not French, if you can believe it.
No, that's even worse. What, can I know the language of origin? Because it's going to help me loads, I'm sure.
I mean, it will. You just get ready for it. Emily, this is a word of Latin background.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Privign, a noun, I'm going to say, is what privy is actually short for. No one has ever known. Privy is an abbreviation, but Privign. Actually the bathroom is called the Privign. That's my stab in the dark guess.
You are correct in that the words are related, but you are incorrect how.
All right. Can I have a hint?
Your hint is adopted.
Huh. And this is related to privy? That sort of a thing?
Indirectly. And me saying that may lead you down the wrong path. So don't think about that. Now that I think about it.
Copy
it's
that.
It's not going to help you. Knowing that will not help you.
Okay. My final guess is that Privign is it's someone taken into a family.
I mean, you are like right there. But that's mostly because you're just like using more words to describe adopted.
To say adopted.
Yeah.
I give up, Kyle. I relent.
Okay. Emily, a Privign is a stepson.
Interesting. That seems very specific and tangential, but I'm excited to hear more.
So, Privign comes directly from the Latin prevignus.
Prevignus? He doesn't have the wig yet?
Yeah, it's prevignus. Well, it's when someone asks, will you wear wigs? That person is prevignus. Yeah, so Privignus just meant stepson, and it was a combination of two roots of Proto-Indo-European origin. The first was per, P-E-R, which meant before, in front, or first. And through a semantic shift from meaning being in front to being separate, became the Latin privus, meaning one each, single, one's own, private, or deprived of.
Is that where we get the prefix peri, P-E-R-I? Because that often means like things like quasi, I think, means the same thing as peri.
Yes, Emily, you are correct. That is also where that prefix comes from. It comes from that Proto-Indo-European root, per.
Nice.
Nice.
We learn so much on our own podcast.
We really do. So the second root there in Privignus is gen, which means to produce, to beget, or to give birth. And it became the Latin suffix gnus, which denotes origin, as in born or originated from.
Yeah.
You might think of the English words malign or benign, meaning born of bad or born of good.
I wasn't thinking of those, but that makes sense.
That's kind of how that ending makes sense in English, the idea in there.
Sure, but I feel like it's used in other parts of the word too. Like I thought of like gene and genetic has that GN, and then I also thought gnosis, I think, is a word that means like generating from, and generate, that one too. It's all coming back to me. It's all adding up to me.
It's boomerang, yeah. Emily, can you think of any words that might be related to Privignus? You've already said a couple of them.
Yeah, I've already done this, Kyle.
Yeah, so I'll just tell you. One of them that you didn't mention is privilege, which we now define as a particular benefit or the status of advantage. It comes from the Latin privilegium, which was a law against or in favor of a specific individual, which is a crazy thing that existed. And that's actually how it came to English. I think in the church, there were like church laws specifically targeting individuals. And privilegium comes from privus, which means one's own, and lex, meaning law.
Sure, that makes sense.
And then from privus also came the Latin privo, which means to bereave, rob, or strip of something, or to free, set apart, release, relieve of, which brings us the English deprive, used with of to mean to take something away from someone or to deny someone something.
Sure.
Right.
There's a lot of related words here.
It's a lot of related words. And then there's the two that you mentioned. Privo, in its perfect passive participle form, was privatus, which brought us private, meaning belonging to an individual, confidential, or secluded, and privy, which was originally a doublet of private, meaning exclusive or concealed, but it's now used with two to mean with knowledge of, let in on, in the sense of one participating in on a secret.
Sure.
And privy, as you were saying earlier, as in a latrine, is like a secluded place, a secret place, a private place. So, Emily, the reason why you've never heard of Privign before is because it's only been used in writing 3 times ever in the 1600s, and really only once properly.
Hilarious.
Yeah, I'm sure that doesn't surprise you.
It's a hidden gem.
It's a hidden gem. It truly is. And I'm just dusting it off so we can all, I'm buffing it.
And maybe give it new life.
Hey, we're going to give it new life today, Emily.
Yeah.
So it was first used in 1606. In the first edition of playwright Ben Jonson's Masque, Humanae. I think I'm saying that right. Humanae.
And, sorry, masque meaning what in this sense?
Masque, M-A-S-Q-U-E. Emily, do you know what a masque is? Have you ever heard of a masque?
Not with a Q-U-E, I haven't.
I didn't either, and so I had to look it up, and I'll tell you all right now what a masque is.
Please do, and then talk about this specific one.
Yeah. So a masque is a dramatic performance usually performed for a royal court, and it employs a mixture of music, dialogue, dance, and pantomime. It's very elaborate. They would hire like well-known architects to design the sets and costumes.
Oh.
They would have really well-known songwriters write all the music for it. They were crazy things.
I guess
Insane.
It sort of sounds like modern theater, but just in ancient times.
Yeah, just in the 1600s, exactly.
Yeah.
And for specific people. So they were often performed for a patron or for an occasion.
Right.
And this instance, Hymene, is not any different. It was written to celebrate the marriage of Robert Devereux, 3rd Earl of Essex, and Lady Frances Howard, daughter of the Earl of Suffolk. More on them a little later, Emily.
Okay.
Emily, I wish I could say so much more about how insane this performance was. We're going to have to make it brief today because it doesn't have much to do with Privign.
Okay.
But just a little taste. This performance featured, of course, Hymen, the Hellenistic god of marriage ceremonies.
Yeah.
A giant hanging sphere painted like the earth from which the characters entered.
Suspended?
Suspended from wires that were so fine you couldn't see them.
Oh my gosh.
And a ritual combat between the knights of 2 women representing truth who, I quote, spoke in favor of the institution of marriage, and opinion, who believed, I quote, that it enslaved women.
I mean, this feels very modern. This
feels
is company.
very modern, right? Yeah. It's company.
Except for the giant sphere in the sky.
Honestly, Emily, there's a crossover here. We can make a new version of company with this. Anyway, Emily, at one point in this masque, above the actors on stage and the wedding couple are a part of this.
Yeah.
Above them are fake clouds, I quote, made artificially to swell and ride like the rack. And they literally open up, revealing the goddess of marriage, Juno.
Wow.
Yeah. It's an insane thing.
This is a high production value here.
It's like I'm pretty sure they got Andrew Lloyd Webber to, direct this,
Yeah, because then after that, all the cats came out.
Yeah, from the globe.
From the clouds. They're jellicle cats.
Yes, they're jellicle cats. So Juno is described as sitting in a throne supported by 2 beautiful peacocks. In her right hand, she held a scepter. In the other, a timbrel, which is a sort of ancient tambourine. And at her golden feet, the hide of a lion was placed. This is in the sky, let me remind you.
And they did all this for the play?
For the play.
This is madness.
For one performance at a wedding.
Wow, not even, this was a private party. This is a private event.
Yeah, private
event. And they got 2 peacocks in.
2 peacocks.
And they slaughtered a lion.
Yeah, you think it was a real lion?
Yeah, I think they stole it from the zoo.
The zoo in the 1600s. We went to ye old Brooklyn Zoo and... So, Emily, this description of Juno is important because this is the first edition of the script, and it's published well after the wedding. And it's laden with footnotes left by Johnson. Really, it's more footnote than script. Like, if you look at it, like, it's the text, the dialogue is like being swallowed up by the footnotes. They like go on all sides of the script.
Sure, like production notes?
Yeah, it's like, this is what happened in our production, and this is why I did it.
Okay. So this is like,
it's like
also,
part memoir.
Yeah.
Yeah. But so here he writes in this description of Juno, so she was figured at Argos as a stepmother, insulting on the spoils of her 2 Privigni, Bacchus and Hercules, referring to the 2 illegitimate children of Juno's husband, Jupiter.
Sure. I like the pluralization into Privigni. That's fun.
It is fun. It's unusual. And now I want to say, for multiple things that are malign, I want to call them malignis.
Maligni! That's really good. You wouldn't say malignis. That's pluralizing it twice.
Yeah, right. I made a big old goof.
You fomites it.
I fomites it. So, Emily, according to D.J. Gordon's 1945 article, do you want to make a joke about? Yeah. Tell me, let's talk about D.J. Gordon for a second.
Well, now I can't because I'm so tickled that you stopped yourself mid-sentence.
Because as I was saying it aloud, I was like, oh yeah, this guy would play a wedding.
Yeah, he was, I'm sorry, what year did you say this guy wrote?
1945.
Yeah, he was tearing up the clubs in the 40s.
Let me break it down for you.
Well, when you first introduced him, I thought he was in the 1600s. That was more exciting to me.
Yeah, sure.
A DJ in like 1645.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Kyle. Go on. I'm done with my shenanigans.
You're good. So, according to DJ Gordon's 1945 article, Humane Ben Jonson's Masque of Union, he says, Juno is trampling the skin underfoot to show her hatred of her stepchildren Hercules and Bacchus, with each of whom the lion's skin was associated.
Was it?
Yeah, it was. I found less with Bacchus. We're going to talk later about how it's related with Hercules. But there's also like a lot of crossover between Hercules and Bacchus's stories at points.
Yeah. I feel like we talked about that when we talked about Dionysus a while ago on the podcast.
Yeah, I mean, there's kind of like 4 people who are all the same person in Greek and Roman mythology.
Yeah.
You know?
There's a lot of overlap in those.
So I think this fact that Juno is like showing her hatred of her stepchildren and then the rest of the performance is supposed to go towards emphasizing the consummation of marriage that would be happening on the bridal bed that night. I think, right?
It's like she is showing ill favor to her stepchildren, suggesting favor towards legitimate children.
Right. Yeah. Which was an important thing back then in the 1600s, especially for like the royal bloodlines and stuff like that.
Right. Yeah. You'd want to make sure that your heirs were legitimate.
Right. And this is all fine. You know, it's like, yeah, okay, these people are going to have sex tonight. It's their wedding night, right?
Yeah.
Until I tell you the fact that the Earl and Lady were just 13 and 14 when they were married.
Yeah. Yep.
Emily, I wish that I could talk so much more about how much worse this is. But I'm going to have to gloss over it here, and maybe someday in the future we'll have an aside where I can really dig into this.
An afterthought, perhaps?
An afterthought, perhaps.
All
but
right.
the fact that these 2 children never do consummate their marriage becomes an enormous scandal, leading to accusations that Lady Howard used a body double to, I don't know, ironically, horribly prove that her hymen was still intact.
Oh. Okay.
And there's even more, Emily, because she ends up murdering the man who tries to prevent her second marriage.
Oh my gosh.
It is a crazy story.
I mean, please, if we can find time to discuss the rest of this story,
I know.
We should.
It was so, I'm like, there's no reason for me to talk about any of this.
My brain is spinning.
It's crazy. It's insane. But yeah, so this is the first example of Privign being used in English. Basically, Ben Jonson just kind of created the word out of whole cloth from Latin, which was a common thing to do at the time.
Absolutely.
A lot of writers would create, words from other languages.
Yeah, because they were like, we're all us scholars know Latin anyway, so I could just toss that in there.
Yeah. So, Emily, the fun thing is we can talk about the other 2 uses, like all of the times Privign has ever been used.
There's going to be 100% of Privign usages covered in this podcast.
A full literature review.
A litany.
So the next use of Privign was by poet, noted plagiarizer, and thinly veiled analogy, Robert Barron.
Robert Barron. Bob Barron. Bobby Barron.
Bobby Barron.
You said known plagiarizer?
Noted plagiarizer, but yes, known plagiarizer as well. He's known to be a plagiarizer.
Okay.
He wrote, I don't even know what it was, but it was called Pocula Castalia.
All right. A written work of some kind?
Yeah, in 1650. And Emily, I'm going to read you a passage and, well, you tell me if this sounds familiar.
Okay.
Bright Juga Juno's orgies are begun, above her altar in a sapphire cloud. Her airy majesty displayed her throne, supported by 2 peacocks gay and proud. Her milk that from her breast drop, when Jove thence did pluck, her Privignus laid there by stealth to suck. A royal scepter in her right hand shone, her left a timbrel held, her golden feet a lion's shaggy hide trampled upon. Thus in her Argive temple did she sit.
What good original content. I've never heard that before.
It's like he just read Ben Jonson's Masque, read the footnotes, and was like, I'm going to put this in iambic pentameter. New.
You made this? I made this.
Thank you. just a little poco of Castalia.
So he used Privignus with a US?
With a US, which is really weird.
But I guess if he read Privigny.
Right, he might have been thinking of the Latin word and been like, oh, this must be the singular.
Yeah. If it's an I in the plural,
right,
then it's a US in the singular.
Right.
And he just said, yeah, he used that weird word there. That means I have to use that same weird word in mine.
Yeah, and like literally the hands that the scepter and the timbrel were in, the order in which it's all said, it's like, wow.
He was like,
you just
why
stole.
Improve on perfection?
Well, Emily, at least someone was a fan, because Robert Codrington, 4 years later in his History of Justin, yeah, that guy needed history. It's translated from the Latin. He writes how Diodotus Tryphon, the guardian of Antiochus, the Privign of Demetrius, took over Syria after his death, until he was overthrown by Antiochus, the brother of Demetrius. These family trees get really complicated.
But that was the third one right there?
That was the third one. Yep.
Okay. Wow. So I guess the episode's done now. We've covered all of the uses.
I definitely don't have another page of things to talk about. So, alas, alack a day, Privign did not catch on, right?
No. A bummer.
Instead, stepson would remain the word of choice. Do you think you know where the prefix step comes from?
Oh, not at all. I mean, does it come from step like take a step?
Nope.
Wow. Well, that's me out of ideas.
Wow. Really gave it the old college try there.
Wait, what other step is there?
One that does not exist in English anymore. Get ready for this. It comes from the Old English prefix steop. Steop.
Steop.
S-T-E-O-P. And that prefix meant deprived of a relative. And it was related to Old English words bestupid, meaning deprived of someone, and astupid, meaning bereaved, deprived of someone by death. That's really tickling you, huh? Astupid.
It's like one of those characters with the handkerchief tied on the four corners of his head. Stupid. I was all set to come up with a joke for bestupid, but then you really doubled down. Stupid. I guess I stupid tonight, huh?
So, steop comes from the Proto-Germanic steupa, meaning orphaned, from the Proto-Indo-European steup, meaning to push, strike. So in Old English, stepchild could plainly mean orphan.
Oh.
In fact, orphan didn't appear until the 1400s in Middle English, taken from the late Latin orpanus, from ancient Greek orpanos, without parents, fatherless.
Yeah.
And so for a while, stepchild played double duty. It meant orphan and stepchild through marriage, along with its relative stepbairn, from Scots bairn, meaning child.
Yep.
And likewise, stepmother and stepfather originally referred to individuals who were parents to an orphan, though the sense of relation through remarriage existed by late Old English, and the relation to orphans disappeared by the 20th century.
Right.
We don't think of it that way anymore.
Sure, but it used to mean like an adoptive parent.
Right, exactly. There are some occasions where the step prefix is used to mean resembling a step-parent, usually with reference to their cruelty or coldness, as with the word steplord from 1549, meaning a lord who unfairly raises rents for his tenants out of greed.
Oh.
I feel like that's a good term for tenants nowadays, to call them a steplord, you know?
Yeah, a good term of derision.
Of course, Emily, the trope of the wicked stepmother is a well-known staple of the German, French, and Italian fairy tales, with their ire usually focused on their Privignas, as in their stepdaughters, such as Cinderella and Snow White, right?
Yeah, that's fun.
But the origin of the stereotype can be traced back to at least ancient Greece, and in those stories, it was generally the Privign who was hated.
The stepson.
The stepson, yes. For example, Medea, that tragic figure of Euripides, in one version of her story, after killing her own children, which is the big thing with her, she flees to Athens and marries the king Aegeus, and the two bear a son, Medus. But then when Aegeus's long-lost son, the fabled Theseus, returns home, Medea tries to poison her Privign, Theseus, so that her own son might be entitled to the king's inheritance.
Yeah, I feel like I've seen that in Greek myths.
Definitely, absolutely. And of course, Emily, there's Juno, as we mentioned, who hated not one but two Privigns.
That's the introduction she got in that play that was plagiarized.
Exactly. Her whole shtick was hating her stepsons. And there was Bacchus, of whom Juno tortured each of his guardians until he was finally taken under the wing of the old pot-bellied satyr Silenus, which I think is basically Philoctetes in the Hercules movie. And then there's Hercules. Among the many tribulations that Juno's Greek counterpart Hera sets up for Hercules' counterpart Heracles is the Nemean lion, which Hera raised herself and sent to Heracles to slay as his first of the 12 laborers.
So that's the connection to the lion pelt.
That's the connection to the lion pelt. She was kind of pissed that he ended up killing the lion because one, it was her lion, and two, she was hoping the lion would kill him.
Yeah. Also, it's just occurring to me now that it's Hera and Heracles.
Yes, Emily. It's
now that adds up.
Intertwined.
Interestingly,
a version of the myth has Hercules abandoned as a baby to avoid Juno's wrath, and then is found an orphan in the woods and brought to Juno for nurturing.
Oh, so she raises him not knowing it's her child or stepchild?
Right, yeah. But not privy to his true identity, she breastfeeds him, and when he bites her, she pushes her Privign away, the milk spilling out into the night sky to form the Milky Way.
That's so cool. Man, myths that make constellations are the best myths. They feel so tangible.
It really is true. We should make more constellations from the myths that we have.
I feel like the Greeks covered all of them. They had a lot, you know?
Constellations that we can see from other planets, maybe.
All right, when we get there.
Emily, that's Privign.
That was a lot of fun. I liked all the connections to all the other words. I liked this feels like a very story heavy episode. This is a storied episode.
It's a storied episode. I'm glad you dig it.
Yeah.
Well, do you dig it enough, Emily, to use Privign in a sentence?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay.
I can use Privign in a sentence.
You can do it. I promise.
Okay. Hey, all right. My father's birthday sometimes falls on Mother's Day. And that causes him to be left out, feeling like the proverbial red-headed Privign.
Immaculate, Emily. It's got the word in there, and it's got everyone's favorite gripe against redheads. All right, Emily, you ready to play a game?
I'm so ready to play a game, Kyle. It's insane.
It's called All in the Step Family.
Good. really good.
So Ben Jonson coined a lot of words, many that we actually still do use in the English language.
Oh.
And like many other language step-parents, he adopted these orphaned words from other languages. Latin, mostly.
Sure.
Actually, all of these are Latin. While Privign didn't catch on, 3 other words that he coined for humanae, all in the same paragraph, actually, did catch on.
I'm so excited.
Are you ready?
I hope I can get them.
Okay, here's your first clue. This word, used in sculpting, was adopted from the Latin relevo, meaning to raise.
Elevate?
Close. It's a noun that you're looking for. And don't lose that R.
Yeah.
It's like a type of artwork. Used a lot in ancient Greece, actually.
Relief?
Relief, Emily. You got it.
Nice. Nice,
a
Emily.
Relief. Yeah. So a relief is a method of sculpture or other artwork in which the design stands out from a plain surface so as to have a natural and solid appearance. And it was the term relief in this sense was first coined by Ben Jonson in this work.
Wow.
He says, actually, on the sides of the globe were placed 2 great statues, veined of gold, one of Atlas, the other of Hercules, in varied postures, bearing up the clouds, which were of relief, embossed and translucent as naturals.
Wow. Yeah, there it is.
Okay, Emily, here's your next clue. This adjective, possibly a type of sweetened milk, was adopted from the Latin word denso, meaning thicken.
Sweetened milk. This adjective, you said?
Adjective.
Condensed?
Condensed, Emily.
Like sweetened condensed milk.
Yeah. Condensed in this form means highly concentrated or packed into a small space. And Jonson said this in Humanae, "The midst was all of dark and condensed clouds, as being the proper place where rain, hail, and other watery meteors are made."
There you go.
All right, Emily, here's your last one.
Okay.
This word from the Latin for dark cloud was first used here to describe a bright or luminous cloud or cloud-like formation enveloping a deity or supernatural being.
Like nimbus?
Oh, wow, Emily, you got it. That is it. That's the word.
Nice.
I thought that was going to be a hard one.
I mean, I was just thinking it's got to be a type of cloud, right?
Yeah,
that was the first one that came to me.
Yeah. Yeah, Emily, so a nimbus is, in English modern day, can be described as a gray rain cloud or a circle of light or a halo.
Oh.
Isn't that fun?
I haven't heard it used that way, but I like that.
And so Ben Jonson uses it, continuing on from that previous sentence. He says, "Out of which 2 concave clouds from the rest thrust forth themselves, in nature of those nimbi, wherein by Homer, Virgil, etc., the gods are feigned to descend."
I like how he's coining these words for the first time in plural.
In the plural. He's like, well, I can't change the sentence. Like, it's just got to be what it's got to be.
People are going to have to figure it out.
Yeah. Emily, you're 3 for 3. You did a great job. You are a part of our step family.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. I mean, that's all I need to hear. I'm going to be floating on a nimbus cloud all week now.
I bet you are.
Great episode, Kyle.
Thank you,
I loved all of that.
Thanks for being along for the ride.
Oh, and hey, thanks everybody else for listening. Remember, you can find Butter No Parsnips on social media, on Facebook and Instagram at Butter No Parsnips Podcast, and on TikTok at Butter No Parsnips. And if you liked today's episode, consider giving us a 5-star rating or review wherever you heard us.
And if you really liked today's episode, consider donating to our Patreon at patreon.com/butternoparsnips. Donating $5 or more earns you a shout out either on social media or here on the podcast.
Thanks so much to all of you. You help us make what we make.
And with that, I've been Kyle Imperator.
And I've been Emily Moyers, and this has been Butter No Parsnips.
Butter No Parsnips is produced by Seth Glicksman, Emily Moyers, and myself, Kyle Imperator. The main and accompanying themes were composed by Kyle Imperator.